bless us now as we just proceed through the service. And Father, we just ask you to bless us as we go home. And this in Jesus' name we ask it.
Amen. I'd like to draw your attention to the carpet back in the sound booth. Was installed Monday. Also in the Family Life Center, Cindy has got the vanities in place and they look awesome. They look really well. Top's not on them yet, but the vanity itself looks good. It's all coming together, guys. The Lord's blessing. Okay, we're going to ask our missionaries to come forward and share about the work in Puerto Rico. I'm excited about hearing their presentation and all the exciting things that's going on. Thank you, guys.
All right, I think it's on. Wow. All right. We are excited to be back. It's been a year, believe it or not. That's crazy how time flies, but we are super thankful to you guys, each and every one of you, as individuals and as a church. We can't tell you the love and support that we've gotten from y'all has just been so amazing. Words can't even explain it. Just on our day-to-day basis, and cards that we get and responses to email updates, and it's just so encouraging to us and so loving. And so we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart for all of that, for your financial support, for us staying in the house up here is just like walking into home. And so it's truly a blessing, and we can't say thank you enough. So I told Christy, I was like, let's just kind of wing it, see what happens. And she's like, no, we need notes. So we've got some things typed out. We'll see what happens. But
because one time we winged it and we were way too long. So it's for your benefit that we planned some notes.
Yeah, it's probably good to keep us focused. So all joking aside, we, talking about the condition of our country and everything, when we come home, we've kind of just made sure we've got passports. You don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico or come back. You just have to have your driver's license because it's a territory of the U.S. But this time I was like, you know what? Let's be sure we have our passports, because you just never know. During our time here, they could shut down all flights. And so we were just praying about that when we left our home in Puerto Rico, and that we get back when we're supposed to get back, whatever that is in the Lord's will. Hopefully it'll be when we think we're going back, because we've got plans, but his plans are always different. And so you want to say anything else before I jump in? Okay. If you want to open, I'm not going to preach a sermon, but I do want to share from Ephesians chapter 3 briefly, and then we'll give some updates. Before I forget also, I do have, while you're turning there, a sign-up sheet if you don't get our email updates, if you would like to have that. And then we have some little contact cards that we put out here before. So Ephesians chapter 3, and we had talked about starting in verse 16, but I'm going to back up to verse 14. So this is Paul talking about, excuse me, my allergies are saying, hello, East Texas. And the central air conditioner is different. I used to hear that and didn't believe it, but it's true. This is during Paul. He's sharing with the people in Ephesians, or in Ephesus, about just some of his trials and tribulations. So I'm going to pick up chapter 3, verse 14. It says, "For this reason I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name, that he would grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in the inner man, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled up to all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations forever and ever. Amen." Going on chapter 4, just a couple of verses. "Therefore I, the prisoner of the Lord, implore you to walk in the manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness and patience, showing tolerance with one another in love, being diligent to preserve the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as also you were called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. And so that's just a really impactful verse that we wanted to touch on tonight, and Chrissy's going to share a little bit.
So, let me look at my notes because I haven't looked at them again. The reason we shared that is really verse 20 has been huge to us, because looking back over this past year, God has done way beyond anything that we could have asked or imagined, and we'll touch on that as we go. But after we left here last summer, the first 2 months of arriving back in Puerto Rico were really, really hard for us. We didn't know when we came that it would end up that JC, our daughter, would get offered a job here in East Texas, which was a huge blessing. And we, after praying about that, realized this God had been preparing her for that. But that meant going back to Puerto Rico with her to pack her life up and move her back to Winsboro. And so that first month was full of, and I may start crying. That first month was full of, excitement for her, packing, sadness, checking off all the boxes, the last minute things. Our house was full of young adults that she had made friends with, just wanting to spend and soak up every little minute that they could with her, which was great. Our house was bustling. So that wasn't necessarily the sad part. It was the fact that we knew what was coming. We weren't prepared for empty nest. That kind of hit us out of nowhere. And so when we took her at the end of September to the airport and put her on a plane, and we weren't moving her into college, we were shipping her off. And I wasn't ready for that. And at that moment, it felt like, okay, we're sending her on a vacation. She'll be back in a little bit. But after a little bit of time, the realization of, no, she's not coming back. She's starting a new season of her life, which is great. That's what, as parents, we're preparing our children for. And so it wasn't that we were sad for her. We were super excited, and we knew that God had every bit of that in control. But it was hard. And for me, I went into a little bit of a depression, to be honest. Those girls wanted to still come over. But as much as we call ourselves missionaries and we're supposed to be out there, with all the kids and doing all the things, I didn't want to be around her friends because that meant she wasn't there. And I struggled with that a lot. And we still did all the things that we were supposed to be doing. We started working, doing our after-school ministry. We did all the things, just working in the motions. But I really struggled. But God is so good, and He is so faithful, and He continued to show us each day how to move forward in our new season of life and our new season of ministry. JC and Haley had been part of it for so long, and then JC was so long, but now God had set us on our feet, just the two of us, to move forward. And I'm going to let him share what our new normal began to look like.
Yeah, it definitely was a challenge. We had kind of thought about we were going to be empty nesters last year when JC graduated high school, but she wanted to stay in Puerto Rico with us for that extra year. And so she did that, which was amazing. But when she left, there was definitely a void in our hearts. All y'all can probably vouch to that when you send your kids off. But it's a little different story. We were kind of a little bit jealous also because we were sending her back to Winsboro where our family was. And it's like she gets to be with all them and see them daily, and we don't. Thank the Lord for FaceTime, honestly. That has just been a blessing to us to be able to visit. Anyways, so during this period, the Lord's timing is always perfect. He sent to us several mission teams, a few different groups periodically from Winsboro, from FBC Winsboro, and then we had a group of college kids that actually came from Mississippi and spent the Thanksgiving break with us. And so some of them, it was their first time to be away from their parents during Thanksgiving, but they literally called and said, hey, can we come hang out with y'all during Thanksgiving? And we served some, but we just did life together. And so Christy was so great. There was 3 girls and 1 boy, and so she told them, there's the kitchen. She told them ahead of time, if there's anything that your family prepares for Thanksgiving that's special to us, let us know. Give me the ingredients. I'll try to come up with as many recipes as I can. And so we had a great time. The Lord knew that. The Lord knew that we needed that. We were going to be at home by ourselves on Thanksgiving, just the 2 of us. It was like, this is going to be weird. But the Lord said, you know what, I got you, and so He sent this And we also invited other people from our community since they were going to be there. They were open. And so we had some friends from Youth for Christ. From a guy that was on duty. He's a Coast Guard helicopter pilot. So it was within his driving distance. So he showed up in his jumpsuit. And so that was fun. It was just amazing to have a house full of people. And that's what Thanksgiving is about, just being together. And we shared about being thankful how the Lord was using us and being able to be a part of them. So although we miss JC terribly at that time, and even still, there are times we come home from something, she has her little dog, we keep waiting for Reese to come to the door, or like, where's JC? But she's not there. She's here in Texas, which is great. But, we had that void, but just the love that we got from these teams that came, the love that we got from the churches, you included very specifically, really encouraged us and got us through and filled that void. So the Lord also had a plan of just getting us busy. He kept us busy so we wouldn't be worried and concerned and depressed and struggling with being away on the island without our child, which was a part of our team. Y'all heard last time she was here, everything that the Lord was doing with JC. And so that was different. So the vision that we shared last summer, we were talking about a ministry center. And the Lord actually fulfilled that vision. It's coming to fruition. We're super excited. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we've officially called it Walk by Faith Ministries. And so the Lord is just through prayer and just openness and faith. That's why we're calling it Walk by Faith, because each step is a faith journey, because we don't know what's going to happen in our world, on the mission field. But the Lord opened the door for a location. That was number one thing. God, where are we going to do this? You've put this view, this vision, this desire of ministry on our hearts. Where are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? We can't afford to go buy a building, or rent a building. Our rent's expensive enough as it is just for our house. But the Lord opened the door at Iglesia Bautista Pan de Vida, so Bread of Life Baptist Church, which is where we've been going to church now for 2 years, and so which has been great. It's a bilingual church, but we met with the pastor and the group of leaders that they have there, and they were like, absolutely, this place is your place. We use it a few days a week, like normal church. The pastor and his wife are bivocational. They're both school teachers. And so they're busy a lot of times. But he was like, anytime the church isn't using this building, it's yours. And so that was such a huge blessing. And they were like, we were asking, okay, do we need to pay you rent? Can we help with the utilities? And they're like, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Just do what you need to do. And so, it's been I'm getting glory bumps right now. It's just really amazing to see that. And the Lord has sent other teams, in addition to the groups that were initially coming. We've had a few others come and help us do work. If you want at any point to roll the pictures again, there's 7 minutes of pictures. We didn't have any specific direction with them, just wanted to show a few things. But some of them show some of the work that we were able to do. And the Lord provided, not even just the teams that came and did the manual labor, but financially. We've put out a request and ideas of things that we would need, and people are so great, so giving, just to say, hey, buy this, the furniture, buy the curtains, or here's money for paint. And so it's just been amazing to see the ministry center, which was the church, had several rooms that weren't necessarily being used. They have a children's church room kind of in the very back, but there were 2 other rooms that were kind of just vacated. One of them was just storage. And so we talked to the pastor, and we completely converted both of those rooms from floor to ceiling, basically, with paint and furniture. Air conditioners we were able to install because people so graciously gave to us for those things. Kitchen appliance, craft supplies. We had an English camp. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And just like I said, decorations, so many more things that we didn't really think about until we started the process. We need this, and how are we going to, but the Lord provided. And so it's just so amazing to look back now. We walk in these 2 rooms, and we're just amazed at what the Lord has done and how He's going to use this place for a ministry center to reach out to the community.
So again, sorry, haven't checked my notes where we are. My eyesight's too bad. I can't see that far away. Okay, so Walk by Faith Ministries, we officially kicked off our first event with Walk by Faith on Saturday, February 15th. So the Lord just, through some stuff that had happened the this is 25. So last year in 24, I realized the need for like a women's ministry. It was the women were kind of being neglected in a sense of something to look forward to each month. And you ladies, I see your post and how good it is, how many people it's reaching and the goodness that's coming from it. And the Lord wanted me to start the same thing, but in a way to reach the community, not just our church. And so we have started Women of the Word. And what it is, it's a bilingual, so I teach in English and I always have somebody translating in Spanish, where we look at each month a different woman in Scripture. We look at what her life looked like, what struggles she had, how we can apply the things she learned through the Word to our own lives. We have breakfast. Obviously, we have to eat. Fellowship together. And then one thing that I did not know if they would like or not, but we have a craft or an activity. And those women love the crafts. Like, I think they would stay all day if I would be like, just leave the door open and let them stay. In fact, they walk in and the first thing they do is they look for the craft table and try to figure out what we're doing. So, but it's been great. It has opened up so many doors of conversation, building new friendships. The age range has been huge, which is great, and I love that. Even before I keep going, just not only, I guess, in addition to the Women of the Word Bible study, I started having last fall a women's Bible study in our home in the evenings. And one thing the Lord laid upon my heart was the need for an evening time Bible study. And I'm not a morning person, so I'm like, great, Lord, I can handle the evening. And I didn't realize how many women, until they've told us, desired to be parts of the other Bible studies that were going on around the community, but they couldn't because of work or different things, and they were so grateful. And so we did a 4-week Advent Bible study in the fall, and I had 20 to 25 women in our living room every week. And it spanned from age, I think the youngest one that came was 14, and the oldest one was in her 80s. And it was amazing listening to the conversations. And when you think about Advent, sometimes we don't even think about really truly what Advent means. And so hearing different backgrounds, different things that people were raised doing or not doing, it was a great time of learning and growing together. And many of those women came back to a study I started, I guess at the beginning of February also, that went from February to May in our home in the evening again, called Surrendered Fully for Jesus. And so it was a great study in addition to the Women of the Word. So,
All right, so has anybody ever heard of pickleball? Pickleball's a thing now. I had not heard of it till recently, and we were like, what in the world is pickleball? So it's a big thing in Puerto Rico as well, believe it or not. So we've actually started having pickleball nights, I guess is what we call it, our pickleball ministry, but pickleball community, we have a group set up and we send out a blast. Hey, we're playing pickleball tonight. It's usually been on Sunday evenings, and it's been great to be able to invite people to, actually at the church property, there's an old basketball court. It's used for parking on Sunday mornings, but so we bought a portable pickleball net and some paddles, and we set it up on Sundays, invite people, and we have had people come that are definitely not churched. We've had people come that we know for sure not believers, and so that's been fun, building the community with them, getting them to come to the church property, because if you invite them to church, they're not coming. I'm not going to that place. Oh, well, let's just go play pickleball. You know, we'll have fun together, and they're like, oh, I'll try it. And so there's several instances we could share. There's like conversations are had and invitations to church are happening, and so it's just been really amazing. 2 nights so far, kind of sporadic. We've had, in addition to our pickleball night at dark, we have a fire pit at the church in the back property. So we've started the fire pit, got that going. We've done hot dogs and s'mores, but we've also had a time of worship under the stars just outside behind the church. Guitar, the little cajon, the drum box. And then I've been very intentional about giving a devotion, sharing the gospel. And so had some great conversations from that. We're really excited about growing the pickleball community because more and more people here have heard or drive by while we're playing. And one Sunday, there's the fire pit there. We've had a couple walking their dogs. Hey, what are y'all doing? You know, who's this group, y'all? Like, well, we're from the church, but we're just playing pickleball, having a good time together, and it's just been amazing. So we're really excited to focus on that. So we do ask that y'all pray for that. I know it's pickleball. You think big deal, but through that ministry, we could reach a lot of people that we may not be able to reach otherwise. So we're really excited about that.
Okay, so one of the things that the Lord laid upon my heart was ESL, Spanish classes, things like that. And I kept trying to figure out how to kick this off. For one, I'm not an ESL teacher, although back in 2014, the IMB certified us as ESL teachers, but I don't even remember the class, if that tells you anything. So I can say we're certified, but are we really? I don't think so, but anyways, it doesn't matter. We were like, you know what, we speak English, surely to goodness I can teach kids English. I homeschooled my kids and they're succeeding in life, so surely English I can handle. So I began praying, and I really felt like the Lord was saying, try an English camp. And so what we did was, it was an English camp with a Bible focus laid out like a vacation Bible school. And so everything, I couldn't find anything done like this before. I reached out to missionary friends all over the world. None of them had resources for me. So I created them. We made it all. And I don't know what I was thinking, but somehow the Lord, this is where God does more than you can ever ask or imagine. This showed up in such a way. God was just so good. So what we did, we had a team from First Baptist Winsboro come at the end of May. We did a 3-day camp, and we created, there's a flyer, I think, at the end of the slideshow, but we created this flyer, and I just started blasting it out with just different groups that I knew. And before long, I started getting all these text messages, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening. I don't know what I was thinking. I got it ready, but when that first text came through that they wanted to sign their kid up, I kind of had a excitement, panic at the same time of like, okay, we can do this. So this team was there. We did a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We started the time with, well, here was my first mistake. I'll just go and share with y'all. Everybody in Puerto Rico runs on what we call Latin time and island time, and you mix the two together, and pretty much they show up about an hour late to everything. So I anticipated that, and I was like, okay, we're going to start at 9, but we're going to actually set our schedule for 9:15. Well, I learned a really hard lesson. When it means you're dropping your children off, they show up 15 minutes early, if not more than that. And so next year, Lord willing, I'll be prepared for that. So that first 15 minutes, or 30, I should say, felt like chaos to me. I don't run well in chaos, and I tried to just keep smiling and just going with it, and we found YouTube Christian song videos, and we sang and just tried to keep the kids entertained till 9:15. But then we had an English class with, there was actually 3-year-olds, so 3 to 6, and then some 6 to 10. I think 10 was the oldest. And that youngest class, most of them did not speak any English. I was very blessed. The older class did. And so it was good to just kind of help them with their English a little bit more. So we did an English class, and then we did a craft, a outdoor game time, and then we ended with a Bible lesson in Spanish and English, more songs until they left. And so the craft time, though, the ladies, I let the team from First Baptist plan the craft time. And they used the Bible lesson and planned the crafts for the 3 days. I got videos from moms. Now, granted, I didn't know any of these children or their families that were coming. And I got videos from moms of these kids who are 4 and 5-year-olds walking through like the days of creation, explaining to their parents, Catholic parents. And I got a message from one of the moms. I guess I did know one of the families. One of the moms messaged me at the end of the week, and she said she had initiated a picnic with the kids, all of the families afterwards. And she texted me, or voice texted me, and said, I wish I could let y'all hear it, because it was just amazing. I just sat there and cried. She said, Christy, I have just had a conversation with 2 of these moms. I've never been able to bridge a gospel conversation with them. And she said both these moms had Catholic backgrounds, but they were not practicing their faith. They weren't going to church. They didn't have any understanding. And both their kids came home. One of them, the last day, who was a little bit older, came home sharing the beaded gospel bands. I know you've seen like the bracelets. They did it on a fish because the story was about Jesus feeding the 5,000. And they shared the gospel story with them through that. This little 5-year-old articulated enough of what she learned to the mom for the mom to articulate the whole thing to my friend Megan. And Megan was just amazed, and she was like, Christy, you don't understand what this camp has done to open the door for future conversations for me with these moms. And because, like I said, she is friends with these moms, and so she knew them. And it is just, again, all week I kept telling our team, be a light, because that is what we're supposed to be for Jesus. I think it's in 2 Corinthians, but don't hold me to it, where it's about being a sweet aroma for the Lord. I was like, make sure that all we do and all we say is representing who Jesus is to us, to these parents, to these kids, the whole week. And that is what God did more than we could ever ask or imagine. Through an English camp, teaching random vocabulary words and how to count and colors, and it was just more than we could ever imagine. And so every day we had about an average of 14 in attendance. We ended up, and I didn't think, I had this mindset that I would walk in my broken Spanish and I would say basically, welcome, this is what this week is going to be. Now we're switching to English, so get ready. The whole rest of the week's in English. That doesn't work. Just FYI. It doesn't work. It didn't work. And so I was so grateful because the Lord brought lots of translators for us. And so it was a lot of translating English, Spanish, English to really help those kids go further. And through that week, one of our biggest things was we had hoped that the Lord would give us contacts and be able to, this was a English camp on steroids, for lack of better words. Like, it was just like, we're just dumping it all in 3 days in hopes that they'll love it so much that they want to come and do more with us. And we, on the bottom of the registration forms, we had, if you're interested, for your kids or for yourself or for other things, and they all checked different things that they were interested in. So it's just a starting point, I guess, to get started as we move back in the fall and get going. So.
You did good. No. That's very true. And one of the things that, it's not in the notes, sorry. We are learning that Puerto Rican people aren't super excited about us being there as gringos, as white people, as people that aren't part of their culture. And so that's been an adventure for us because it's not what we expected. As many other Latin cultures we've been to, they're always very welcoming. They're, hey, come to my home. They give you a chair and water, anything they can give you to make your stay comfortable. Not so much that way in Puerto Rico. And so there's a very, very thick shell there that the people have. They're very guarded for a lot of different reasons we won't go into right now. But we were kind of joking just the other day. We were walking in our neighborhood. We get out and just kind of mingle around either in the mornings or sunset. It's a great time to bump into neighbors. But it's been 2 years that we've lived in our current neighborhood, and one of our neighbors finally acknowledged our presence. And we were like, 2 years. And we've said hi several times, and it's always like, or they'll turn and walk away from me, almost, literally. And so that was a big accomplishment. After 2 years, we were like, he said hello. We had actually a conversation. And so, yeah, praise the Lord for that. But we didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to have these conversations and these relationships with people. It's not like other places where you go door-to-door evangelism and you just share the gospel. And even having our pickleball nights, it's going to take some time. Although we're sharing the gospel every time we're together as much as possible, to have actually one-on-one conversations and for somebody to open up, it's going to take a while. And so that's been a little different for us. We're really looking forward. We're here, obviously, to get some rest, obviously to visit churches and friends, but our oldest daughter is going to be expecting her first child in August, our first grandson. So we're super excited about that. Yeah. He doesn't have a name yet, but we're waiting on that. She's like, I may not name him till I get to the hospital, till I have him, till I see his face. We're like, that's okay. It's your child. Do what you need to do. But we're really excited about that. So that's part of our being back. They're having a baby shower on Saturday. And so we're going to travel with them back to Mississippi for a couple of days and help. She's got a dad list, some things that she needs me to do, projects at the house before the baby comes. And so I'm excited about that, always as the dad, to do things that your little girl needs you to do. And so that'll be fun. But we've got a busy July. So we'll head back on July the 6th, back to Puerto Rico. And 2 days later, 2.5 days later, we have an intern that's going to come stay with us. He's from Mississippi. He's been to Puerto Rico with us and served twice already. He literally just called and said, would it be okay for me just to come become a headache for a couple of weeks? We were like, absolutely. We've told y'all, our house is your house. It's open. Come anytime. And so we're excited about having Taylor with us. He's going to basically just do life with us. The very next week after we get home, we do have, we've offered our volunteer services to Youth for Christ. They're doing their big summer camp. They said they were capping it at 75 kids, but we were told yesterday they now have 84. And so that's going to be a big week. Pretty much Monday through Friday, 10 solid hours a day of going strong. And so please pray for us to have the energy and the strength and enthusiasm of the Lord. But several of these kids that will get to come, it's a free camp. Several of them will be bused in from one of the local, more low-income areas. And so these kids aren't necessarily from great families and don't really have a lot of church background, any exposure, maybe even to Jesus or the gospel. And so that camp is July the 14th through the 18th. And so we'll put something on an email update or Facebook just to remind everybody, because we want to cover that week in prayer. Just each and every child, 84 students that are going to be there. There will probably be more showed up that just get dropped off, and that's okay. It'll be an amazing week. So we're really excited about that. As I said, the baby's coming in mid-August, so we'll have a little bit of a break in between camp, summer camp there at Youth for Christ, and we're actually going to come back and go straight to Mississippi and try to be there. We didn't know how that situation would happen, but do it. Right. Right. Definitely when the daughter tells the mama she wants her in the delivery room, mama says, I'll be there. And so we're really looking forward to that. So that'll be the middle of August. And I think that's that for now.
Okay, so once we return after baby time, when we feel like the Lord says it's safe for you to leave,
I'll probably be coming back by myself to Puerto Rico. Mama will be with the baby, but we'll see.
We'll see. We will see. Only the Lord knows how that's going to go. But once we return, we will kick off the school year and the fall with a lot going on. Our after-school ministry at Borinquen Bilingual, we ended with a great note. We had had so many good gospel conversations. We had had hard conversations about just struggles that these kids are facing. These are 6th or 8th graders. And goodness, some of the things... I'm glad we didn't face these types of things when we were in school, but the things that they're facing just sadden my heart. And so we have had lots of conversations, and so we're looking forward to picking up those connections again when school starts. Obviously, because of the baby coming in August, we'll miss a few weeks, so there'll be some others from Youth for Christ that'll get that going. But once we get back, we'll kick right into there. There is a new English church plant that started in November of 23, I believe, called Northwest Church. And they have asked us just recently what it would look like for us to start helping them. And so we've not ever joined in a sense Ponde Vida, because we've really felt like the Lord didn't call us to a specific church, but instead to help the pastors, help equip the churches, help them grow or walk in whatever way. And so we've never been closed off to whatever God might want us to do with another church or another pastor or whatever that can look like. And so we're praying through what that looks like. They have not had a pastor since they started, but they have just, I believe they're calling one on the 6th. He's coming to preach and for the church to be able to vote after that. And so we're excited for them. It's been great when we meet new people on the island. We can find out what they're looking for in a church. Are they looking for just an English church that looks like what you would get in the States? If so, we direct them to Northwest. If they're looking for something more, that local culture, the bilingual aspect, then obviously we point them to Ponte Vita. And so it's going to be good if that's what the Lord wants us to do, to be able to help both of those churches out in whatever way the Lord sees fit. But our main focus, besides sharing the gospel, obviously, and building those relationships, will be our Walk by Faith ministries. And so some of the things that, and we mentioned these things last year, is the vision. God has continually kept this vision at the forefront of our minds, and that's obviously the women's ministry, Women of the Word. While I do the Women of the Word ministry at the Walk by Faith Ministry Center, he has had any of the men that wanted to come and do a devotion and breakfast in our house. And so he's hoping to continue that. We've been leading an English Bible study on Thursday nights, so hoping to keep going with that. Obviously ESL, SSL classes, music lessons, life skills, after-school tutoring, and there's so much more. Outdoor movie nights is something else that's really been on my heart. I would love to be able to show the Jesus film or different things and reach out to actually the locals in the community and bring them in a way to something that would draw them in, but then help, plug them actually into the church, because that's something that's definitely missing as far as with the local Puerto Rican culture. And so that's something that's really been on my heart. So we just ask that you please continue to pray with us for all of these things and so many more, but just pray on our behalf that the Lord would just continue to give us guidance and direction and wisdom. And then as we seek the Lord each day, to know, like we said, our ministry is Walk by Faith Ministries, and that is because it's literally been, since the moment God said go to Puerto Rico, it has been a faith journey. And it just seemed fitting, walk by faith, not by sight, which is 2 Corinthians 5:7. And so that is what we try to live out. So we just want to say thank you. Again, like he said in the beginning, you guys have been so amazingly supportive, and we couldn't thank the Lord enough or show our expression enough of how much we appreciate and feel blessed for you, for your prayers, for your support, and all the things. So.
I think we're going to casually just open up for questions. Is that okay? Is that what we're doing? Or
Sure. Well,
Okay.
first let me present you with a love offering from Clearwater.
I shouldn't. My goodness. Y'all do so much for us already, but thank you. Thank you.
We are super excited about the work in Puerto Rico. You're mentioned often, and you're prayed for daily. We really care, and every time you come, we learn a little bit more about your word, and it's exciting. Thank you for coming and sharing your word, because it's very, very important. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all didn't have to do a single thing. Y'all do so much for us. But and there's so many more things that we could share. So many things. Salvations. The Lord has brought people to the Lord, to Him. Sorry. There was a picture of a young man. There were several pictures kind of progressively. Elijah is his name. And so I just wanted to introduce y'all to Elijah on the screen. Pray for him. I don't know if we mentioned him last time we were here. I believe we did. The Lord is growing him so much. He has come from a young man with a dark background, heavy heart. The Lord cracked that heart wide open and is filling it with His love. And he's playing the drums in church now. And they're having Vacation Bible School at the church this week while we're gone. I missed it. But he's teaching kids at Vacation Bible School this week. And so I got a picture on Facebook of Elijah. I've been walking through trying to disciple him as much as I can. And so he's just growing. And it's amazing to see what the Lord can do. Just a few other, gospel transformations that we've seen in people. And it's been amazing, from meeting people on the beach and inviting them to church. And the word spreads from there. But it's exciting. So anybody have any questions? We'll go that route. It's kind of, the pictures sometimes spur on questions. And so we'd love to answer anything. Yeah. Right. Yeah, good.
J- Cindy was saying that the email, one thing about email is it won't allow us to attach many pictures. So if you're on Facebook and want to see more pictures and more of the day-to-day, definitely write your name down and we'll try to add you onto the Facebook page. It's a private group because we want to make sure that those that we're building connection with don't necessarily think that we're just out to, you know, we are, but we're kind of doing a little bit.
Get 'em for Jesus. Yeah, definitely so. So there are times we'll throw day-to-day things on the Facebook page, but try to do an email update once a month when I can, when we have time, because it's a little bit of an effort. But yeah, any of the pictures you saw, ask me about them afterwards, or I'll explain them to you. We'd love to talk more. I tried to condense them compared to what we had before, but showed a little bit of our world there. But
On the map up there, what is your location? How far away from San Juan east, west?
Loco, that's great. We live on the northwest corner of the island, and so we're about 2 hours from San Juan. That's another little bit of a thing. You know, if a country is going to be attacked, it's going to be where the airports are. There's actually an airport in our city also, in Aguadilla, like agua, like water, Aguadilla. It's a Coast Guard base that's there, and so they are stationed out of that location on the northwest corner. But we're there. It takes about 2 hours to get to San Juan. We fly out of San Juan because you can get a direct flight to Dallas. That's one of the easier options there. But it's easy travels. It's a toll road to get from there to where we live, about halfway, and then the other half is just a road with red lots. It takes a little bit of time there, but it's easy travels, honestly, to be able to come and serve on the mission field. Hint, hint, y'all come. No, that's a great question. So yeah, we're on the very northwest corner, literally, like about 5 minutes from our house is the point where it makes the curve. So there's a little lighthouse out there, and so it's close.
Like clinics and pharmacies, or how does it work over there?
Yeah, there are pharmacies everywhere. It's amazing. We don't really understand how they all survive, but I guess a lot of people take a lot of medicine. There are clinics that are just kind of the walk-in clinics or private doctor clinics. We go to a private doctor clinic that's around the corner from our house that the Lord connected us with. She speaks good English, and so that's really helpful. She's been amazing to us. If you want any major procedure done or have a medical emergency, they will either pretty much take you to Mayuez, which is an hour away from us, or into the San Juan. We call it Metro. Once you get to the more San Juan area, they say it's Metro. Go to the Metro, Metroplex, metropolitan area. But so anywhere from an hour to 2 hours if it's something major. But there are local clinics. So anytime we want, if we go to the doctor and have to have blood work drawn, we go to a different clinic, and then you have to wait a day or two, and you go pick up your results, and you take them back to the doctor, and so it's a bit of a process. So,
On that note, though, it is hard to get doctors to answer their phones. They don't have phone systems like we do here with multiple lines, and so we have struggled, and this is something you can add to your prayer list. I'm going to tell on you. He has had thyroid issues for the last year and a half, and they can't get his thyroid medicines to level, his thyroid numbers to level out, to the point that last week before we left, she said it's time for you to see an endocrinologist, and you need to have a thyroid ultrasound done. The way things work there, we can't get anybody to answer the phones. We're going to literally have to drive the hour, walk into an office, schedule an appointment, drive home, do all the things, which is fine. We will do that when we have time. That's the problem, is having the time to make those drives, to get the ultrasounds, all those things. We can't get anybody to answer. So pray for that, but pray for him that they can figure that out. There's several things that he needs to see different doctors for, and it's just a process. And that's what we told the doctor the other day. We were like, we have been trying to get these things done, but we can't. And she said, just keep trying. So, yeah.
great question. Anybody else? So Youth for Christ has a property that's in our town, in Aguadilla. It used to be I'm drawing a blank. A Teen Challenge Ranch. Yes, for men, drug rehab place. It was closed down for several years. A young couple felt led to go to Puerto Rico and launch Youth for Christ Puerto Rico. We're praying about a location, and then it's opened up, so they had to go in, and I mean, it was rough. But the Lord provided, and they redid all the buildings. They're still working on a few of the buildings. We've done some work with some of our teams there to help them. But it's about 15 minutes away from our house on just kind of the other side of town. So it's pretty local. It's a little bit of a challenge to get to. Sometimes the roads feels like it's about as wide as this podium, but sometimes you're driving and you're like, oh, we can't both make it, but it works. So it's a main road, but it's like a little county road. It's crazy. But we're fortunate, we're blessed. A lot of the pictures that were there, we haven't talked a lot about Youth for Christ, but we're still very involved with them. Trying to step away a little bit because of our Walk by Faith Ministry Center that we want to focus our time on. But Youth for Christ has been just a blessing to us. They have become we call them our PR family. We spend a lot of time with them. They love on us and support us in so many ways. Several of them were ones that came. They gave up their time at Youth for Christ, their commitments to come and help us with our English camp. And so that was a blessing. So it's very close. It's easy to get to. So it's right there in our town. So yes, sir. Yeah, I don't know. The cost of living in Puerto Rico is very expensive. It's not quite Hawaii, but it is an island, so everything is imported. There's nothing really that's self-sustained other than milk, I think. There's maybe a few other things, but most things are imported, and so everything's expensive. A gallon of milk is $7. That gives you a little example, that kind of to base off of. So that was a shocker when we first moved there. It was like, oh, wow. Because we did live in Mexico for a little while, and so everything in Mexico was super cheap. And so we were excited. Oh, we're going to Latin country, and it's going to be inexpensive. We go to the market, buy all the fresh produce, and they don't exist in Puerto Rico. It's Americanized enough that it's a lot like here. You know, there's Walmarts, there's local grocery stores, but food and groceries, it's expensive. Utilities are expensive. So yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. We've adapted to it a little bit. We came home, we were at Walmart at the Dollar or at Aldi, and I was like, wow, milk's like, was it $3 something or whatever? And I was excited about that, you know, like, yes, let's get 2. But no, that's a great question. It is expensive. It's a challenge, but you know, the Lord provides. So.
Does every family grow their own garden and have their own?
I was actually about to say that. So many of the produce in the grocery store say imported from the United States. And I was so tired of buying cucumbers that would go bad so fast, or zucchini, or some of the other fruits, and the strawberries, grapes, all that stuff. And it's super expensive. And so we tried to grow some. We bought some of the seeds here that year at Christmas. And it looked so good. He and JC got out because they love doing that together, planted a garden. The next day, all of the tops were eaten off. And those little iguanas that you see in those pictures, so that's the predator. That's why they can't grow anything. And they don't have greenhouses. I don't know why. They haven't established a greenhouse system to grow things themselves, but they haven't. So everything is imported in, therefore the price is so much higher. So yes, I was at Aldi the other day, and I was like, a pineapple's only $1.99. Strawberries, blueberries, a cantaloupe, I got all of it. If y'all want some fruit, I got all of it.
Do they have a bounty on those iguanas or what?
You can do iguana hunts.
Yes. Yeah, they do that sometimes in different areas where they'll go out. And we've seen pictures. We've never done it. I want to shoot the ones that are in my yard, but we're talking I need to get a pellet gun when we get back, because I would like to grow stuff. I'd love to grow vegetables, and but it's a challenge with the little iguana friends. So no, they're not. They're not my friend. I don't like them. So we did build little cages over some of the plants that we had. That's what we did, just out of some mesh wire. That was a little bit of a hassle, but they do dig also, and they'll climb right over the top of something and go right in, eat through anything that's poking through the wire. They're going to chew it off. So it's pretty crazy. So
could you share your information for someone that's viewing Facebook so that they could send support if they decided to your ministry?
Doing it? Yes, probably. So, which part? Yeah, we didn't really introduce ourselves, but I think y'all know who we are. But, I mean, you could obviously, like Christy said, connect with us on Facebook. Jay, or I think mine's actually under Jay Scott, and Christy. We do have a Headaches on Mission Facebook page. It's our private page that we put people in. We shared a little bit last year, I think, about we were connecting with World Outreach Ministries. It's an organization that helps missionaries that are on the field, basically with their finances. And so it's been an opportunity for people to give through that. And so you can go on worldoutreachministries.org, and I should have given the website. I don't know the best way. I might could send it to Cindy or somebody, and y'all could put it in a chat. But I don't really know the best thing to be able to share, honestly. So there's a website, worldoutreachministries.org, and then /997. Kind of easy to remember, but not really. They're on the cards here, so if you wanted that, or there's a QR code, you can scan that with your phone. It takes you right to that. It's a really simple process. You put in your information. You can set up monthly support or bi-monthly or however, one time. You can go and do it whenever you want. It's an option. World Outreach Ministries has been a blessing for us when it came tax time. For our first times under their umbrella as a nonprofit is the way that we're able to launch our Walk by Faith ministries without having for us to go through setting up all the nonprofit for ourselves. And so that was a huge blessing. So that was the Lord orchestrated every bit of that last year. So yes, ma'am. There's a very small fee that goes to a processing fee to them, but it's minimal. I mean, we searched around when we were doing this last summer when we started the support raising process, and there's some that definitely take out much more. It's very minimal. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's small. We get the majority of it for sure. It goes into account, and the 1st and 15th of every month, they deposit it right into our account. And so it's a blessing. We have that to live off of. So a lot of the places were once a month or bi-monthly, and they were like, no, you're on the field and you need your funds when it comes in. So they do twice a month, which is really a blessing for us. So they take a little bit, just a small portion. Yes, ma'am, processing fee, because they go through all the process of going through their bank and then depositing our bank, and they do all the tax forms and stuff for us, which was a blessing this year when we were starting to think about taxes as our first year of being tax exempt in our ministry standpoint. They did it all. They sent all the forms to everybody that had donated to us. And then, they helped us. I reached out to them, and they're like, yeah, there's this tax person here. Contact him. And we just walked right through. It was such a blessing. So.
They also they offer lots of extra support options, things like the Jesus film that I mentioned earlier. They give us all of that access free as part of our being part of under them. And so there is like pages upon pages of resources that World Outreach gives us as missionaries under their umbrella. And so, but one of the other things that we really like is we know lots of missionaries around the world with lots of different organizations, and World Outreach doesn't control what we do. We don't have to worry about them having a thumb on us. Having our accountability is to the churches and to the supporters and to our support team, which is all of you and so many others. That's where our accountability comes from, and we don't have to get approval from World Outreach to go do the Walk by Faith Ministries, or ask for approval to do the English camp, or ask for approval to do the women's ministry. And a lot of organizations do. And we've learned that through the years, and it's been a struggle, and it's sad when you see the Lord opening doors for missionaries to do things, but their groups don't let them. And so we prayed. He said we did this for a couple of weeks. We did this for a couple of months of research, and prior to going with them, of researching. We didn't realize how many organizations out there are for helping missionaries, and it's great. everybody has their place with whatever, but we really felt like World Outreach was going to be the best, for now, benefit for our ministry to help us walk in a way we are accountable to them like y'all, but they don't control us in a sense. Only the Lord does. So
You can definitely, there's the option, we have some people that just give direct to us. They'll just mail a check with our name on it. There's that option too, if you are concerned about that percentage and you're not worried about tax purposes or whatever, that's an option as well. We have a few people. I love the small town. Somebody goes by and puts this in the bank and it's right there. So that's a blessing. So thank you, Cindy, for doing that. Yes, sir. We're USPS actually. So we have to get a P.O. box. There's a box unit out beside our housing addition, but for some reason there's not a box available for our house. So we have to go to the post office, which is about 10 minutes away. So, but it's USPS. But through that, though, I'm glad you asked. There's two gentlemen that work at the post office. They're both they're Army veterans. And so Stephen and Ephraim is his name, Efrain, Ephraim. They're both Puerto Rican. They both speak great English from being in the military, but I have built an amazing relationship with these guys just from going to the post office and cutting up with them. They don't give me slack, and I give it right back to them. So we've got a fun relationship. One of them is definitely churched. He saw my Youth for Christ shirt after we had been one of the events one day and brought it up on his own. He was like, hey, we actually go to evangelical church. It's all Spanish. But so I'm intrigued. I told Christy, I was like, we need to go to his church. And although we may not understand everything they're saying, let's just go be a part of Ephraim's church. The other gentleman, Stephen, I'm not sure that he's churched. So we're loving on him as hard as we can. So
yeah, we'll sum it up here. One of the things that was really cool about the post office is when we put the Amazon wish list out and people started ordering and sending stuff for the ministry center, all these boxes were coming in. And the guys, it opened up a huge conversation about what we were doing, and he was able to share about Walk by Faith Ministries, and it's been this ongoing conversation about them, because of that, why we are here and what we are doing and how we're wanting to reach the community through the ministry center. And so it's been really, really cool to see that connection, and I really honestly feel like those men at some point will have a part at the ministry center.
eventually, we're going to keep at it. So I don't want to keep y'all too long. Yes, sir. Okay. There's no import taxes on things like that. The taxes in Puerto Rico are 11.5%. So there's that is added on to the already expensive groceries and everything. Some of the things, groceries, they don't necessarily have that. They just have a local tax, which is like 1% or 2% of that 11.5. But if you import things in, like initially we thought about taking our car with us. Thankfully, JC has the car that we left here and she's driving it, but you get heavily taxed on things like that, large items that you would ship in. But UPS packages, things like that, it's just regular shipping. So, yeah, which is pretty neat. Just being part of the U.S., U.S. territory, USPS, UPS, FedEx, they're all there. There's a large FedEx shipping location at the airport that's in our town, and so there's a lot of planes and a lot of packages every day that fly over. So anybody else, any questions? We could talk all night long. Once we get going about what the Lord's doing, it's like, and people tell us all the time, like, you're really excited about what you're doing. Like, how can you not be, When the Lord's working like that and you get to be a part of it, then we'll talk about it all day, all night if you want, but we're not going to here. So, yeah. Anybody else have any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
When you get like a hurricane or you lose your electricity, as you were telling us that last time you came
Right.
about losing electricity,
Mhm.
you have a lot of people come to your place, to your home?
We have a generator at our home. A lot of people do have generators. A lot of them, some of the wealthier people have like the big diesel generators that are built in. We've just got a little gas one, but it runs the things that we need at our home. We've definitely offered for people to come to our house. We haven't Fortunately, praise the Lord, there hasn't been any major hurricanes since we've lived there. There's been a couple small ones. One of them was while we were here one point, and so it just rained and there wasn't much damage at our place. But there's definitely power outages. It's the infrastructure in Puerto Rico is very poor. There's one power company and one water company, and they control it all. And so when there's a glitch in that one power company, we were without power a couple of days not too long ago, and so you just get by. And neighbors do pitch in. We did talk about at the church. I talked with Pastor David about what would it look like to open the doors at the church, because there's just a small generator there, but it would be enough to have food and maybe some refrigeration if we needed it, as far as air conditioner and other things. But so that's definitely something that's going to happen at some point during our time there. The current thing is earthquakes. There was a period several years ago that earthquakes did a lot of damage in Puerto Rico. And just in the last 48 hours, there's been 2 significant earthquakes off the coast just close to where we live. People have videos in our community of things falling off of shelves and lights moving. And so I'm not concerned about our home, but it's definitely, earthquakes are an issue. And so, which is kind of scary, but so. Anybody else? All right, thank you. We bought a car there in Puerto Rico. We found one, and so we purchased it the first year that we moved there. It's funny, JC calls her Patricia. You name your cars. I don't know why people name their cars, but we call our car Patricia. And Patricia's needed some help every now and then. Thankfully, it's so funny how the Lord works. I mean, you brought that up, but there's a young man that works at an oil change location that his father owns. And so they do small mechanical work, but just, oil changes, tires, things like that. But I've built a relationship with him just from going and having him work on our car. His name's Joseph. And it's amazing to be able to spend that time, because he's just talking. He loves speaking English. And so I'm building his younger brother just graduated high school and then started working there with him. And so I'm anxious to build that relationship. We've invited them to several things, but they go to a different church. I'm assuming it's Catholic background from what I've kind of gotten signs of, but I'm working on them. I'm going to keep inviting them. So, but it's fun. Just the things, going to the post office, getting our car worked on, different things, the opportunities that the Lord provides. And we try to step into every one of them with both feet, saying, Lord, use us. Here we are. It's an opportunity. Let's go, and so that's exciting. But we do have a car. It gets us around. So some days we're like, okay, Lord, please just get us there and back. But Patricia does the job. So anyways, we do feel safe. It's like everywhere else. You might, there's places you don't go after dark by yourself, and Mount Pleasant or Sulphur Springs, Dallas, anywhere, you just know. And so we're just diligent. There are definitely places that we're told don't go at different times. But in our community, we've never felt uneasy, I guess, never felt threatened at all. So we're blessed with that. We really are. So it's a safe area. But well, thank y'all so much. I know y'all are tired of listening. If you have any questions about any of the sign-up stuff, let us know. We'll get you hooked up and connected. So thank y'all again.
Let's all stand together. We'll